This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 45 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. We would like to thank our sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products. They offer supplements designed to give you the most value for your dollars. Visit them at kppusa.com. This is Chris Stafford in Lexington, Kentucky.
And I'm Lisa Wilcox in Wellington, Florida. And you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Hi, Lisa. Welcome back.
Thanks. Seems like it's been a while. Forever.
It has been a while, but I know you've been busy. You had an auction recently down there.
Yes.
Yep. So that was exciting. So that kept you really busy preparing for that, didn't it?
That sure did. And I'm looking forward to telling you a little bit about that.
Great. Well, we'll look forward to that too. We got a big show lined up as always this week. We're going to be talking to Evie Strasser, the Canadian rider, who is based in Canada and has a base also in Germany. And I was able to catch up with her recently, and so I'm going to share that conversation with you a little bit later on in the program. And we're also going to get a report on the World Cup final from Hertogenbosch, which took place last weekend, and that's going to be Klaartje van Andel of Dressage Direct. No better person to give us that report, Lisa, because, of course, she is Dutch. She is right there just down the road from Hertogenbosch, and she's also... she's been covering these World Cups for forever, so it's wonderful to have a review of that. Did you follow? Were you? I guess you were busy this past weekend. Did you follow any of the World Cup final?
I was able to get a little bits and pieces. I saw those scores, and phenomenal. The first day, of course, in the Grand Prix, we're all kind of biting our nails, going, "Oh, what happened?" So it was nice to see the little rearrangement. But we figured, knowing these guys, the professionals that they are, that arrangement would find itself again for the freestyle. And it did, but with a wham. So
yes,
we got to follow scores, and that was about it.
Yeah, no, it really was a bit of an upset there at the start. I think a few nerves all round, but he settled in to do the job, and so no surprise there that the Dutch took first, second, and third. So we will get a full report of that a little bit later on. But we have another item of news before we get to that, and it's some good news, Lisa, of our friend Courtney King-Dye. And those of you who have been following Courtney's story since, of course, she had that terrible accident a few weeks ago and was in a coma. And we have been bringing you updates thanks to her good friend Lyndon Gray that we've been posting on our website. There was one just last week after she had been moved from West Palm Beach, from the hospital down there, to New Jersey, to the Kessler Rehabilitation Institute in West Orange, New Jersey. Well, we've learned that she is actually out of a coma, which is very, very good news. And while she's no longer in that coma, she still needs more time to fully emerge, according to her husband, Jason. The head of the brain injury department has described her current phase as being at the higher end of a minimally conscious state. She has some awareness of her surroundings and responds intermittently to requests. So this is terrific progress, Lisa. I mean, this is very encouraging when you think of the devastating effect of that accident, that she's actually making this kind of progress in a few short weeks.
Yes, I tell you, we're all following this quite closely here in Wellington. And I know Lyndon has been very, very optimistic. And of course we're all pulling for her, and I'm following Robert Dover's blog on a regular basis, and we're all praying feverishly here. And I know these little movements, everybody wants something more, but this is a good sign. This is showing us that she's becoming more aware, and that's the best thing that we could ask for at this point. Because it's a very serious situation, cracking her skull the way she did, and then as you called it. What did you call that? Separating.
It's a brain shear, I believe, is the correct term for it, when the brain is sheared from the skull.
Yes.
This was my understanding.
Yes. And and knowing this, I'm just so thankful that she's starting to come around now.
Yes. Yes, it's very, very encouraging, and we will bring you other updates from Lyndon as she becomes available to share those with us, and hopefully, we'll have one in this week, actually, as we come to our Easter weekend here. We'll bring you those updates as the special episodes here on the Dressage Radio Show, so stay tuned for those as well. But we have some good news from Sweden, Lisa. Your friend Jan Brink, he and his wife Katarina Svensson became the proud parents of their first child, a baby girl, Angelina Brink, on March 22nd. Apparently everything went smoothly despite a cesarean section, and the family's back home in Tullstorp. So big congratulations to Jan and his wife there on the birth of their first child.
That's got to be the most beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby in Sweden.
I'll bet it is. You're right.
I'm just guessing it's blonde-haired and blue-eyed. How about you?
I think we could put some money on that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. No, they're a gorgeous couple, and I just can imagine Angelina is a dear. Absolutely. So congratulations to both of them. Looking forward to seeing some baby pictures. Yes,
no doubt we will. No doubt we will. Well, best of luck to both of them. Well, we're going to take some time now to hear from Klaartje van Andel of Dressage Direct, as we all know, and as you mentioned, you were following it last weekend, the World Cup finals, a big conclusion to that World Cup series, the FEI World Cup Dressage finals, which took place in Hertogenbosch in the Netherlands this past weekend. Of course, Edward Gal with Totilas went into it as favourite, but he got off to a bit of a shaky start, as we're going to hear now from Klaartje. Well, hi, Klaartje. Welcome back to the show. I know you've had a really wonderful weekend, and I'm sure the Dutch are still celebrating after the World Cup finals, huh?
I'm sure they do. It has been a wonderful party, a huge, wonderful, great show, and we all have been celebrating. If you would have time, because for the ones that are working, it's still continuing and going on, and it's not always too easy to celebrate, but the Dutch have been celebrating really very well. And all three, I must say, because Imke Schellekens-Bartels, she's riding on the wonderful, nice, pure music of Wibi Soyadi, the nice, light, piano music. She did really, a one of a lifetime test. And it's that the others two are this good, but otherwise she could have won as well.
Before we go to the freestyle, let's start at the beginning, Klaartje, because there was a little bit of an upset there when Adelind and Parsifal won the Grand Prix and put Edward in second place, and only just over 2 points ahead of him, absolutely. But I think what's significant with that is there must be tremendous pressure on Edward Gal now. And, you can't expect anybody to come in and break world records every time, but for him to have to come in front of his home audience with a horse that keeps breaking world records and is expected to be the World Cup champion, do you think that was showing on Edward or the horse, or both?
I think it showed on both. And I think probably it started with a slightly distraction from the horse, and then Edward got tensed. So, and it's always a combination of rider and horse. We know all about that. And he couldn't get relaxed again in the rest of his test. And so his wonderful horse, Morland Totilas, didn't show relaxation as he just is famous of. Because he's just famous of doing the most difficult exercises, the wonderful piaffes, like he's able to going on for an hour, and then he immediately relax, do the extended walk, look around whether there's nothing and whether he's in his own garden. But this time, tension, was visible.
And
it was a surprise for us all.
I'm sure it was, and those of us who were waiting for those results, we just took us by surprise that Adelinde. But Adelinde has been going so consistently well. We shouldn't detract from her performance because she has been consistent over the winter here. She's really been going better and better with this horse, and now is a challenge and proved to be a challenge for Totilas and
absolutely.
Sunrise.
She is the only pair that ever bet Moorland Totilas and Netortal. She was able to win the Grand Prix Special at the European Championships in August in Windsor, and now she was able to win this Grand Prix. So she's the only Grand Prix pair that ever that ever has beaten Edward Gall and Moorland Totilas.
And nice to see Isabel Werth back up there with Waarom Nicht. And I think looking at the results from the Grand Prix, Claudia, wouldn't you agree that the rest pretty much fell where you would expect them to?
I think Isabel was surprised that she didn't come a bit closer. I think she had expected to become probably third. And she's always riding very strongly and without hesitation and doing very, very well. But I think she was surprised by the Dutch. Although she did a very good job. It really was a very good test. And at this moment, if we continue to talk about the freestyle, all Dutch were so much yelling for Scandic and Patrick Kittel that they really thought he was more convincing than Waarom Nicht FRH. Scandic did one of his best tests as well, with really a great Piaf and Passage and doing so well. But he scored less than Waarom Nicht FRH because of his total image of being not that uphill as Waarom Nicht FRH always is. So that Patrick Kittel still has to work a bit more on his canter to get it more uphill.
Well, a great debut for Patrick Kittel with Scandic. We had him on the show here a few weeks ago, and he was very much looking forward to making his debut in a World Cup final. So a great effort for him to finish fifth, and then
absolutely.
And getting into the freestyle now. Of course, Edward, World Cup champion with 89.80. So really, by the time he got into his freestyle program on the Saturday afternoon, Claudia, he was back to what must have been is a good form. He's relaxed and got used to the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a small advantage because he was the last rider. It was the draw that made him the last rider. It could have been any place of the last second half of the finalists, but he was the last. So he knew what he had to receive. He knew what he had to ride. And Adelinde Cornelis had 82.85. Imke Schellekens-Bartels had 82.15, and he knew he could go for that. So he decided to be as relaxed as possible and not to overdo things. So you could already see at the start that he didn't do his maximum extreme extended trot as he can. He starts with the extended trot, and he did it nice, harmonious, and probably the horse is able to do much more, but it's also very good to start relaxed. And he started relaxed, and that was the same with the Piaf. He started not to overdo it, so not like 1 minute Piaf. He just did like the 12 steps that were necessary to show. And then he just continued his test, and you saw that the relaxation fell over the pair. It started with a bit anxiousness. What will it be this time? Also with the audience, because nobody was even guffing or whatever. They were all very much into it because it was a big test test for him, and he has done the World Cup. You all know in America that he has done the World Cup final in Las Vegas wonderfully, riding Ling, but he became the runner-up. He won the Grand Prix, became the runner-up after Bonfire in the final and after Salinero in the final, and he never won a final. And it's one thing to think of winning, but it's a second thing to really do it. And he said afterwards that he hadn't slept all night, and he really was very, very, very unrelaxed. He looked pale, and you saw when he was halfway his test that the relaxation fell over the pair, and that was the moment that everything just went like it was no effort at all, and that was the moment that he himself believed that he could be the winner and that he enjoyed his ride. The first half of his freestyle, he said afterwards, I didn't enjoy it because I thought this and this and this and this can go wrong and this can go wrong. After the 2 tempi changes and the 1 tempi changes without any mistakes, he thought, well, now I'm going to enjoy the second half of my ride. And he did. And he was the winner.
And congratulations to him too. And the second and third place of Adelinde and Imke there was very, very close. Did it ride as close as the scores reflect, Klaartje?
Yeah, it was really very, very close. And I think it was because of the emotion of the test of Hunter Douglas Sunrise and Imke Schellekens-Bartels. They were so harmonious and they were really in the flow. They never hesitated. And Adelinde Cornelissen had taken a risk by doing a new freestyle. And it was her first show that she did this freestyle. So she was counting and thinking about, am I in the right time, and can I start the next movement already? So that showed a little bit. So 2 of the judges even had Imke on the second place.
Yes.
That were Francis Verbeek of the Netherlands and Mr. Turnblad of Denmark.
Yes, I saw that. So very, very close.
Very, very, very close. And Adelinde had one mistake. She had one mistake in the 1 tempi changes because she was counting and she thought, oh, okay, I'm right. And she stopped giving the 8. It was a difficult 1 tempi change line on the center line. And after 4 1 tempi changes, she thought, okay, I'm right. And then she suddenly forgot to give her 8 to continue the 1 tempi changes. And the horse was very reliable because he stopped doing the 1 tempi changes. So he was very obedient. So she said, oh, I'm so angry with myself because he just was obedient. I stopped giving the 8 and he stopped doing the 1 tempi changes.
Yeah.
So she was very angry with herself.
Well, that's a great shame, but it just shows, how fine that line is, Klaartje, when you get to know, and the accuracy is absolutely everything in dressage.
Absolutely.
But what a fantastic final. And, Isabel, I'm sure, would love to have dislodged at least one of the Dutch riders, but she came in a close 4th, and I'm sure will have her sights set on the rest of the year. And getting her revenge when it comes to the World Equestrian Games later in the year.
And he has really a promising new horse. He did very well last week in Dortmund. He's only 9 years old, and all the ones that have seen him in Dortmund say she has never had a better horse than this horse. So there are new horses to come and new challenges to come, and it's never said already that you cannot beat the Totilas or Parsifal or what horse ever. There are new horses coming.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to seeing Isabel's new horse because I've heard so much about him, and very exciting future for her. So we'll, I think this year is going to be incredibly exciting. When we get to the World Equestrian Games, Klaartje, can you imagine the tension here? We've got our own rider here trying to keep the Dutch and the Germans at bay. Stefan's got a lot of pressure on his shoulder and a lot of pressure on Edward again to retain and that consistency. So it'll be all to play for, and I know you'll be here.
Of course. Of course. I can't wait. Of course.
All right, Claudia. Well, we will look forward to catching up with you when you get over here to Kentucky for the World Question
absolutely.
Games.
I'd like to add one more thing, if possible.
Of course.
The first sponsor 25 years of the World Cup was Nashua. And now Nashua is called Rico. It's a big company, and they are still the sponsor of the show in Sertogenbos. And Rico has helped me to bring out a little booklet on 25 years of World Cup dressage, because I thought it's a shame that there's nothing on 25 years of World Cup dressage. We still have a wonderful World Cup booklet and also for the show jumping, but there's nothing for dressage. And I've made a little tribute to the FEI World Cup Dressage 1986-2010. At the occasion of the 25th anniversary, I've been able to interview all winners, and it concludes with a lot of statistics. So I was very happy that Rico gave me the opportunity to make this booklet in only 3 weeks' time. And, I hope that there will be more opportunities for our wonderful dressage sport, that still sponsors like Rico believe in the sport, because without information for press and information for riders and wonderful statistics that are still available, you cannot continue with making your sport just as wonderful and just as important as the other disciplines like show jumping. So I'd like to thank Rico for making this booklet. They produced it in their own house. And it was really an effort of the three of us, of Rico and photographer Arne Bronkhorst, who gave his pictures, and myself, who had all the statistics. And it's only produced in a very, very small amount of 600. I will send Stefan Peters, who contributed to the booklet, and of course Debbie McDonald as the winner, who contributed to the booklet. I will send it to their homes, and I hope they will love what has been made out of it. I'm very happy with it.
Congratulations! That I'm sure is a very important chronicle and history of the World Cup, and no better person to do it, Claudia, because you do have that knowledge and the statistics. So congratulations on producing that.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing it, and thanks again for coming on the show, Claudia. And we look forward to catching up with you through the summer, and definitely here when you get to the World Equestrian Games.
I wish you all a very good preparation time for that, because you will need it, and I am really how would you say it, praising mood that you are all organizing this. It's a huge event, so it's great that you're doing this.
Absolutely. Well, we'll have the test event, of course, coming up here at the end of April in the Kentucky Horse Park, so for dressage, jumping and eventing.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again later in the year, Claudia. Thank you very much indeed.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Well, great to have that review from Claudia. Obviously, she follows the sport so closely. She knows the ins and outs of all those riders. But there'd be a lot of orange flags waving around, a lot of orange shirts. You always know where the Dutch are at these competitions, don't you? At Olympics and WEGs.
They know how to do it, though. I'll tell you, when we were at the World Equestrian Games 2002, people would come in the entrance, they were giving orange T-shirts out. No buying them. Here's an orange T-shirt. Put it on. Oh, well, what the heck? This must be something about Spain. Before you know it, the whole audience was wearing orange T-shirts. But
well, they really do stand out, as you say, when they go and they all get together and they're very, very patriotic, and so you can just imagine with being on such a roll as they have been these past few months now, coming over to the World Equestrian Games later this year, Lisa. You know there's going to be pockets of orange around that stadium when it comes to the dressage.
Absolutely. Well, they've certainly earned their spot where they are right now. 1, 2, and 3 at the World Cup. That's pretty impressive, and I think it's got a lot of the other nations, including ourselves, working very hard behind the scenes, realizing we need to step up to the plate. So, congratulations to them, and I know how it is to ride stallions, so I know those ups and downs, and that first round is, oops, we'll hack that up for the stallion factor, but he knows what he's doing, and that's what you see with the 89%. He got the stallion back totalist, back in his frame of mind.
Back in the groove, absolutely. And, overcoming the nerves, as we heard from Clutch, he was nervous. But, as you mentioned, you're used to riding stallions. And this is a nice segue into our next segment, Lisa, because, as we know, you've been really busy with your first auction that took place down in Wellington this last weekend. And we just can't wait to hear how that went, because I know that was all consuming for you, preparing these horses for the stallions.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Tell us how it went.
Indeed. Well, I have to say, we had a fantastic program for everyone, and the High Life team did a phenomenal job. They brought down 32 horses, stabled them. We had breeders in. The place looked fantastic. They had a gardener come in, and it was just decorated to the nines, and we had VIP tables with beautiful blue and red tablecloths. So, and a wonderful band. Joan and Kenny really went full out. And we had organized, I had a wonderful program with George Morris and Lauren Huff, and George did some commentary for Lauren as she jumped High Life Stallion, Prezioso, breeding stallion. She did a lovely job. They did a vertical combination oxer, and they just kept setting that fence up. And I thought, oh my goodness, this horse has such an elasticity and such a lightness, and those two together, that's what George kept saying, these two are like a dancing partner. They're just a match made in heaven. They know each other so well, and they've only been together a year, but they trust each other. So, and Lauren is phenomenal with that. She took this strange horse and gave him so much confidence, did a European tour, and now they're going to go out and do another European tour. But we got to get a taste of what she does with him out in Europe. And so I want to thank George for that. He did an excellent job. Then we did a nice dressage presentation with Euro, the Grand Prix gelding that I'm riding, and Ernst was over to do a demonstration, and I had Robert Dover to translate the demonstration, and we were able to show how we are bringing this horse to the 2012 qualifications for the Olympics. And
we should explain that's Ernst Hoyes. We should explain, Lisa, for those who are not familiar with Ernst.
Ernst has been, he's been my trainer since, my goodness, 2000. And if not before, actually, 1998, 99, he came on into the program at Gestüt Vorwerk, and it's been a blessing. I wouldn't be where I am today without his support and dedication in my riding. And when I left Germany and had gone to Switzerland, he even continued to help me there. And now I'm bringing him out to the United States, and he supports everything I'm doing over here. And it's just such a comforting feeling to know I have that strength and that knowledge behind me, because you feel like there's nothing you can't do. I just know if I get in a bind, I call the encyclopedia. and it comes over and it helps me. So he did a fabulous job assisting me in presenting these horses and showing where we're training. And then, of course, the Diamond Stud, who was the father of a lot of the offspring we put over the auction. And he's 7 at the moment. And we talked about him learning the changes and going on into the 4th level, the pirouettes, the canter pirouettes. We showed a little bit of the half-pass work. And even started little half steps in the piaffe and showing what we're looking for, and that just a few steps evenly, pat him both directions, and we were done. And I think the audience was very impressed in the fact that we're not looking to have piaffe today. We're looking to have a reaction today and a horse to understand what we're doing and building on that. And so that went very, very well. And then Jan Brons assisted me in riding one of our 6-year-old geldings, Sandrohit Daydream, and they went through and walked through the 6-year-old test and what's required there, the flying changes, the counter canter, the half passes, and all of this. And so the presentation was fantastic, and the public was very interested. You could tell that was something that people are craving, that education, and that, that long-term relationship as well, a trainer-rider having been together for, how many years does that make that now? A long time. Never mind, that just makes me a little older. But so then we got into the sales, and we had good sales. They were probably in the $30,000 range, but remember, we had 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, horses that weren't under saddle. And then we showed horses free jumping, ponies free jumping. We sold ponies, some of the younger stock free jumping. So all in all, I think for a first endeavor, was very, very positively received. And, of course, we're going to make some changes. I hope maybe we get an earlier date this next time around. But we'd love to make it an annual event and have gotten very, very positive responses from it. And I personally was very proud of what we presented and represented. So I'm looking forward to it next year.
Well, good for you, Lisa. And I know some breeding, of course, is something that's dear to your heart. And we did mention last time you were on the show that we would have a focus on breeding and choosing breeding lines because, this is something not only you're passionate about, but you obviously have a lot of knowledge there. And maybe we could have just a show on that one week if you're up for that.
That would be fantastic.
We'll do that the next time you're on, maybe in a couple of weeks, if that's okay.
Yeah, very good. Would love to. And it's such a joy to see the father going and then to go see his children.
Yes. And
look at the character, not only the exterior, but the character and what gets handed down through his genetics, and then looking at the mares. It is phenomenal. It's exciting. So
it's a fascinating process, isn't it?
Yes, and I think Joan has got a good hand on it. As a matter of fact, we should probably get her on the line too. Pick her brain.
There you go.
Joan Sims, the owner of Highlight.
Joan Sims. Yes. Okay. Well, let's plan on doing that then, and we'll have a breeding special here the next time you're on in 2 or 3 weeks' time. Perfect.
Excellent. Yeah.
Perfect.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Lisa. Well, we're going to take a short break here for a commercial, and then we'll be back with our guest this week, Evie Strasser. So don't go away. We'll be back in just a second.
Glenn the Geek here, and we get many emails every week from people who really like the shows, and they ask how they can help support the Horse Radio Network. Well, you already do that by listening to the shows and by buying from all of our fantastic sponsors. And now you can add to that by supporting us directly and very easily. The next time you need something from Amazon, just go to any of our websites and click on the Amazon banner in the middle of the page. Then go on and buy your Amazon items. It won't cost you a penny more, just an extra click. But Amazon gives us a little bit back just because you clicked on the banner. Tell your family and friends to do the same thing. Every little bit helps us to keep giving you the quality equestrian programming that you have come to love. Thanks for listening.
Well, we're coming now to our guest, Evie Strasser, who I was able to catch up with just recently. Lisa, as you know, she was born in Bavaria. She is German, but she rides for Canada. She's a Canadian citizen, and she operates Good Time Stables. That's TYME, Good Time Stables. And with her most recent successful partners include Just in Time and Quantum Time, and she has lots of others that use that time in their name. She is, of course, a Canadian Olympic. She competed in the Atlanta in 1996. She's a team silver medalist from the Pan Am Games in 2003. She was an alternate for Athens Olympic Games in 2004. And she was the top Canadian, actually, at the World Cup finals in Vegas. The top Canadian score in Grand Prix. She was the top Canadian in Aachen for the World Equestrian Games in 2006. And she's also shortlisted for the World Equestrian Games this year. So let's welcome Evie Strasser. Evie, welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Dressage Radio Show.
That's so great having me here.
Well, I know you already know about the show here, and so we just have good fun with our guests, and I'm glad that you're able to join us. I know this is the first time for you on the show, and so we'd like to start with a little bit of background, Evie, and telling our audience where it is you're based now, because I know you balance your life between Germany and Canada. And tell us a little bit about your facility in Canada.
I mean, my base is Montreal in Quebec, French-Canadian country here. And this is actually where most of the horses are staying, especially young horses are getting raced and trained up here. And then once they come up the level into the FEI level, or if they are the really successful 5 or 6-year-olds in Canada, then I consider them taking them over to Europe. But when I have them literally going into the higher levels, then I make the decision to introduce them to Europe, because I think it's a very important step to prove yourself in that level, that you get known over there also, not just in North America. It's a bit of a harder thing in times, but I like to challenge that, and I'm having a lot of fun doing this.
So how much time do you spend in Canada and how much time in Europe, Evie?
It depends always on the year, like when it was the Olympic year, then I literally spent 6-7 months there. But that means like traveling back and forth, like stay 6 weeks, come back for 2 weeks or something like that, whatever I could afford from the time frame to be away from the show horses. But normally I would say like this year we will be probably going for 3 months, which I'm just right now preparing myself to go. I'm leaving on the 15th of April. I already have 3 horses there, and I take 3 more with me. And start showing now from end of April on till end of July.
So how many horses would you have in training at home in Canada right now?
In total, we have here in Canada 15 right now. And that is from the ponies to the 3-year-old upcoming to the 7-8-year-olds.
So you spread your time between being a clinician, a rider, a trainer, and also a horse dealer. Do you enjoy the dealing part of the horse business, huh?
It's basically not really dealing. I mean, we don't. It's not like that I'm selling a major extensive amounts of horses. It's basically what I enjoy doing is that I buy them young, 3 years old mostly, and then I train them up the level and the ranks till they are in the international level, and that's mostly that. When I put them onto the market and choose the rider for that horse. I'm now in a position that I don't need to sell all of them, that I can decide who I'm going to sell it to, and I really like that because it makes it so much enjoyable, because you're basically, even if it would be a rider who would want that horse and I don't see that it suits it, I will not sell it, because the horse will be not happy and the rider will be not happy, and I want a happy combination and a successful combination, and I'm at a point in my life that I really can decide that, and that's the exciting point here right now. And also the fun part, like I say, is that I take them from 3 through all the ranks up and see where they can go and who could they suit. And it's fun to sit back and watch them go. Like right now, Richard Davison is Artemis. It's a joy. And we had Andiamo time with Kira Kirkland and Aurel in Japan. I mean, many of our World Cup horses, which we had by now, in total of them. We have 12 World Cup horses by now who came from the farm, so it's quite exciting now.
And you always favoured the Oldenburg.
I love the way the mix in the from the wagon horse to the show horse it went. I love that when the breeding started to change from being the heavy horse to the riding horse. Not every breed was working very well with the thoroughbred and the Arabian in it. So, and the Oldenburg, I guess, had enough colder blood in it, which worked very well with the thoroughbreds and the Anglo-Arabians. And I find their dispositions are excellent, and the breeding, I was very lucky with it until now, and I know it very well, even so that most of the breed is mixed up by now, Westphalian, Hanoverian, but I think the Oldenburgs are just the temperament I really like.
So do you have a stock of them in Europe that you turn to, a line that you follow in Germany, Evie, or do you get them in Canada? Do you breed them yourself?
No, we once in a while breed some from some of the stallions we had, but I mostly buy them 2.5, 3 years old. There's certain lines I favor, certain lines I look very much for rideability. I look for 3 gaits. Very important to me. It doesn't matter if it's the flashiest horse in the world in the trot. It has to have the walk and the canter. And the conformation is very important to me, so that the horse also will be lasting, and able to use his body in the right way, and carry me all the way.
And you also have an interest in show jumping.
Oh, yeah, it was a fun thing for me always. I really enjoyed, but it happened just that we bought some jumpers with my ex-boyfriend, and we were very successful with them because he liked the jumping a lot, and we had some World Cup jumpers going, and then happened that I once in a while bought one, and they happened to turn out into the top of the World Cup for Canada, like Archie Bunker was 6th in Las Vegas. I bought him as a 5 turning 6 for John Pierce, and the whole German team tried him out and didn't think he was good. And I said, I buy him. I think he's amazing. And 2 years later, the horse was 6th in Las Vegas. So it's exciting. I love just the challenge of analyzing them and figure them out and, give them also the doubt that they can make it.
Yes,
I think also that you have to believe in a horse. That is another thing, that you figure out how it learns and how it can use himself. It's not always the same.
And then watch them leave home and go into the big time.
Oh, yeah. That is very fortunate when you're able to produce them or get them into the directions they want to go, and then you see them being successful. It's just the ultimate field for me, standing on the side, and it's just amazing.
Well, you established your Good Time stables there in Quebec, back in the early 90s, wasn't it?
Yes.
And with your husband, who is a Hollywood TV producer, I believe. Yeah.
He was a Hollywood producer for Spielberg and Spelling. He made a lot of movies for them. And so, I was in Hollywood quite a bit and lived in L.A. and showed in L.A., so that's a bit of a different way of living. So I've seen it all, and I don't need an Oscar or any to watch again. It's fine. I've seen it. I don't really would like this life. I'd rather be in the farm with the horses and enjoy the showgrounds and, I say, with the dust of the dressage rings.
There you go. Well, you do a lot of teaching too. Tell us about the students that you have right now. Do you have any Grand Prix level?
I don't take many people because I am concentrating still on my writing and the career also. And when I do something, I want to do it 100%. I don't like to spread myself. I am concentrating in 1 or 2 students and guide them along and want them to be successful. And at this moment, I have 2 young riders. They're just coming out of the young riders now. And one of the best one is right now Julie Watchhorn, which is now coming up the ladder and trying to get into the Pan Am Games and then into hopefully the Olympics with the horses she got now. And the other ones are young riders and pony riders, But like I said, I take maybe 2 or 3 people and concentrate on them. And because I spend still a lot of time showing, and I like to put 100% behind them, that I can be of a total support to them.
Well, tell us about your top horses right now then, Evie. Which of them are team prospects for you that you're focusing on this year?
I have an extremely good string of horses right now standing there. I have a choice of right now 2 Grand Prix horses, Action and Quantum Time. They are both easy for the team. I think when the rider rides well, they will go, I say always. The both are in extremely good condition and ready to go. And then the upcoming horses are Dancing Time and Argo Conti Time. Those are 8 and 9-year-olds. They both are doing all the Grand Prix, but I'm going to show them one more year in St. George and bring them the following year up. And then the next string is then Renaissance and Rolex. These are 2 6-year-olds, which are probably one of the best horses I've ever owned. And I think the youngstock which we have in Canada is all very promising, and we see who is crystallizing themselves out, who suits me as a personality too. Doesn't mean that certain horses, they can be top, but then they're either too big, too strong, too wide for me, and I will make a decision to let them go because of that, because I want them pretty light and easy for me to ride. I don't want a very strong or a big horse for me right now anymore. It has to be something which I can do, effortless.
So where will we see you competing this summer? Evie, what's your main focus for competitions through the summer?
I'm going right now. The first show will be Saumur, France, and then I go Munich in Germany, and then from there to Austria, Lipizza, and then Hickstead. I want to do the CDI 5-star again. So I will be going till July to Europe and do I make a 2-string of horses so that I always have 2 and 2 going, 1 Grand Prix, 1 St. George's, and 2 more shows through that, and keeps me then in the ring and gets me more precise, I hope so.
So what's left for ambitions then, Evie? As you said, you're in a position now where you can focus on what you really want to do with the horses that best fit you. What would you say would be your goals and ambitions for the next few years?
My goals always will be to try to improve my riding, and for sure the goal will be that for sure eventually win a medal or get under the first 5 into the World Cup. That will be the ultimate. We had many good horses. Hopefully that Canada will progress up the ladder and get recognized more worldwide with the results we got now. And that maybe gives us a chance to, as a rider or a team, maybe get up to the medal condition there. That would be fantastic. That would be my goal for the country, and for sure for the rest of the riders and myself, that would be the ultimate, I think.
Well, Canada certainly is being a force to be reckoned with, and of course you have the help of Robert Dover as well.
Yeah, very fortunate to have Robert on it now. He is I know him for a very, very long time, competed with him over many, many, many years, and he's an extremely amazing trainer, rider, successful businessman. I admire him. You can learn every day something from him. I always say that. I would have loved to go to Florida this year, but I had so many young horses here that it was a bit difficult leaving, and with my daughter, that I had to make the commitment to stay home. And I thought, anyways, we had enough shows in Europe that I can try my best there. And either I'm the best in this situation, or then I wouldn't be a good force anyways for Canada if I'm not succeeding in that.
Well, you obviously got a very busy year ahead of you, and we wish you all the best, Evie, for your competition season, and safe travels around the world, and hopefully you'll come back later in the year and join us again here on the Dressage Radio Show.
I would love to, anytime, and I'm pretty sure I have many new stories to tell.
I'm sure you will. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Well, that was great to catch up with her. She's obviously a very busy lady, balancing her life between two countries, Lisa. You know how challenging that can be.
Unbelievable. My hat is off to her.
But a very feisty competitor, obviously very ambitious, very passionate, and really a lot of energy there. And we wish her all the very best of luck making the shortlist and making her way to the World Equestrian Games again. So we'll be following her as we get closer to the competition. And we're going to take another break here to hear from our friends over at Kentucky Performance Products. And when we come back, we're going to hear from Lisa and the tip of the week.
You can count on Kentucky Performance Products to provide scientifically formulated, research-proven products that target specific challenges facing your horse. In the spring and summertime, one of those challenges is the heat. Horses sweat, and when they do, they lose critical electrolytes that play a major role in optimal performance. Loss of electrolytes can cause fatigue, muscle weakness, and dehydration. Horses offered supplemental electrolytes have less stress-related problems. They rebound from exercises sooner and return to feed quicker after exercise. Summer Games electrolytes from Kentucky Performance Products were developed for the elite athletes competing at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. Its research-proven formula replaces the electrolytes and trace minerals lost when horses sweat. Its concentrated low-sugar formula provides more electrolytes per dose than many leading brands. When your horse sweats, replenish his losses with Summer Games electrolytes. Brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, helping you keep your horses healthy, sound, and competitive. Visit them at kppusa.com. That's kppusa.com.
Well, Lisa, you've always got something really useful up your sleeve when it comes to tips, and this week's no difference. And I think the question you're going to ask or answer is, if your horse is not willing to go forward, what do you do? Exactly.
Horse is not willing to go forward. Now, this is when I begin to troubleshoot things, and having the education I have from Ernst Hoyers, 29 years at the Spanish Riding School. My horse isn't going forward. The first thing I question is my seat. Now, what am I doing wrong that is this horse is interpreting and back in basically stuck, doesn't want to go forward? And something that Ernst Hoyers opened my eyes to, he says, Lisa, open your thigh muscle. See, this happened with Rhodiamont. I got on Rhodiamont and clamped down. I thought this was a cute little half pony, half horse thing. I was going to manhandle it. And it stood. Rhodiamont stood. And he says, open your thighs, Lisa. Relax your thighs. They should be long and soft along the barrels of the horse so the back can relax and the barrel can breathe. If it hardens against us, nothing's moving. And I did that, and I used my voice a little, and a small little bit from my lower calf, and that horse moved off the spot. And I thought, oh my goodness. And I had no idea I was gripping that tight, Chris. That's the thing. Our thighs, that's a large muscle mass.
Yes.
And if you're squeezing with your thigh, and then your calf is down there going bing, 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 it's a much smaller muscle than your thigh. It doesn't really have a chance, and it won't be able to work beyond that what your thigh is closing down. And what is interesting is how a horse will then open up suddenly, and in his barrel begin to breathe. The back relaxes, and then they take your lower leg aid and go forward. They stop holding their breath against your leg. So that would be my tip. Double check your seat. Double check yourself before you get too irritated with your horse for not responding, because we might just be pulling that handbrake and the gas pedal at the same time. And I don't think the gas pedal is going to make that much of an impression if the handbrake is going to be pulled.
You're going to be spinning your wheels, right?
Correct. on the spot. So that would be something you should try, Chris, while you're riding with stirrups.
Okay.
You're a nice thoroughbred, and just feel how much of an impact your thigh can have negatively in a horse. And thoroughbreds are sensitive. They'll tell you in a heartbeat.
Yes.
And if it's, and we had talked about improper fitting saddles and things like that before in Tips of the Week, they can also cause horses to lock up and not go forward because their shoulders are blocked. So, same type of idea, and now we want to make sure that we are not the cause. And
Do you find, Lisa, there's any difference in that, the mechanics of that adjustment between riding a stallion and, say, a mare who's in season?
I think in both cases, you have very sensitive characters, horses. And a stallion is going to get stubborn. If you want to poke, I'll tell you, I always said, you want to make a Catholic rider out of somebody who's kicking and poking and doing all that, go put them on a stallion real fast. And see how long they last doing that. That'll make you real Catholic real fast. And respectful. But with the stallions, the needling them with the spur and poking them with the spur, that will get a stallion to react definitely in the negative. They'll hold their breath. They'll get angry. They won't go forward. They'll go backwards, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
And an irritation. But if you'll open up the thigh, come with a press of a calf, just a press, or a bump, which I've called it before boxing, you will find that the horses that are even holding their breath a little will begin to coax. They'll be coaxed into breathing through that little stimulation of a box. And I have been known to compare it to, the babies that are newborns that aren't breathing, and the doctor smacks them on the butt to stimulate them to breathe with just a little flat hand. This is like the flat box on the rib for the horses that are holding themselves against the rider. But it's very important to make sure that the thigh is not restricting them in any way. And the mares, of course, hypersensitive. Those is the same respect. Don't squeeze down on them. Light aids, and I always start small and see where it leads and see what I need after that. Start small, not an elephant in a china closet. A lot of these girls are exceptionally sensitive, and too hard of a whack is going to get you off to the races in no time in some cases, and also, or, the wringing of the tail, curling of their rib cage around a leg or away or into your leg. A lot of these different things where they go into your leg rather than away from it.
Yes.
So I think that you have to be sensitive to the animals you're riding and just be conscientious and check your seat real fast. Just do a check there and make sure you're not closing them down. Make sure you're not the one pulling the brake.
Absolutely. Well, great advice. Well, thanks, Lisa. That's a great tip of the week. Appreciate that. You always have some great tips,
Well, I hope somebody goes out there, writes back and goes, oh, my gosh, thank you so much. And you know who's going to thank you? Your horses.
Yes. So. All right. Well, thanks, Lisa. Well, we just have one email this week, and that comes from Jennifer, who writes that she was listening to the show, and when I was asking about memorable partnerships, any suggestions for those memorable partnerships out there, and she suggests Carol Lavelle and Gifted, and also Michelle Gibson and Perron. So, Jennifer, I will look into those, see if we can't get Carol or Michelle, or both of them at some point on the show here, to kick this series off. So don't forget to write me with your suggestions. And you can also send in, obviously, any questions, suggestions, or comments you have on the show to chris@horseradionetwork.com, or you can leave a voicemail 270-803-0025, and visit our fan page, of course, on Facebook, and that's a very active fan page there. And of course, as always, our show notes will be on dressageradio.com. I would like to thank our sponsors this week, as always, for making this show possible. Please support them. They keep us on the air, as indeed do Brian and Glenn. They make us sound good every week. I want to thank them. And I also want to remind you to visit our other shows here at the Horse Radio Network, the new Jumping Radio Show and, of course, the Eventing Radio Show, both of which I co-host with some great people. So check those out. And don't forget to check out the 2010 Radio Show, which is all about the World Equestrian Games. And that's co-hosted by Glenn and Samantha. Check those out and visit us back here. Lisa, you'll be back in a few weeks. We're going to do this breeding episode, right, in a few weeks' time?
Yep, looking forward.
All right, we'll do that. And so what do you...
Everybody. Yeah.
Plenty of content for that, I'm sure. You won't be short of information if I know you.
No, not at all. And we'll be able to. The fun thing will be is looking at what we're able to get now here in America, or the stallions that we have here in America, and for me to compare and contrast with the breeding programs that we were looking at in Europe and the things that I was a part of in Europe at Gestüt Vorwerk. And now comparing that to what we have here in Orlando, Florida. And I'm telling you, we've got very good stock. So the fun thing is to see that the Americans are really getting a hold of excellent breeding stallions here.
Well, I also want to mention, Lisa, when you talked about working with Ernst Hoyers, of course, over these years, and the small steps and asking small questions, a little bit of PF and, not to eat the elephant with one bite kind of thing, that you produced this wonderful video a few years ago that I was fortunate to be a part of when you and Ernst were in Texas, if you remember, for the USDF.
Yes. Correct, yes.
So that, I believe, is still available through the U.S. Dressage Federation, and I'm not sure what it was called, but do you remember the title of that video? I produced it, and I can't remember the title of it.
Thank God, because I can't either. This would be called Chris and Lisa's Old Timers. Okay. I'll let you research that.
I will. and I will research it, and I will put a link on our website to it. So that's just one of the videos that Lisa has produced, so check that out. All right, Lisa. Well, great to catch up with you again, as always, and we'll look forward to having you back on the show in just a few short weeks' time. So take care, enjoy yourself out there. I'll be back here in the same place next week. So until then...
Thanks for listening, and enjoy your riding.